Welcome to the AACFB's 2023 Meet the Funder webinar series. My name is Monica Harper. I'm the Executive Director of the AACFB, and I'll be your host. Our presenter today is Lynn Smith from 360 Equipment Finance. 360 Equipment Finance is both a funding source member and a gold sponsor of the AACFB, and I'd like to thank them for their support. Before I introduce Lynn, I'd like to go over a few things to make this webinar more enjoyable and informative for everyone. During the presentation, you should see a Q&A box that allows you to ask questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit your questions in the box and they should be answered by the end of the webinar. Please reserve the chat box for communication between attendees. The entire webinar should take about 30 to 45 minutes. And for those of you who'd like to review this webinar at a later date, it will be posted on the 2023 Meet the Funder page of the website and will be emailed to the AACFB membership. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Lynn. It is all yours.
Thank you, Monica. We are a direct lender, 360 Equipment Finance. We're out of Austin, Texas. We are a direct lender and we specialize in challenged credits, equipment financing for small businesses. Our leases run from $5,000 up to $100,000. And we have a small staff of 8 people. I'm the Vice President of Broker Relations, and I'll be your main contact. We have a credit manager, Justin Bureau, and Sasha is a contract manager, so she'll be helping with all the actual documents. Our leases run from $5,000 up to $150,000. Our terms run from 18 to 60 months. We have no minimum credit score requirement, so we do not FICO score. These are written with true leases as a 10% purchase option.
Yeah. I'm Young Smith. I'm the account manager here. I work pretty closely with Lynn, so if I'm a little rusty, I apologize, but I know the program pretty decently well. I've been here for about 6 months. I work really closely with the brokers here as well as vendors and customers. I'm really here to just be an extension to the brokers to try to help get these deals funded. And if you're having trouble reaching out and getting an item, I'm here to help. I help organize things on our side as well as yours. There really are 2 industries we don't work with. That's going to be logging and over the road. So any sleeper cabs, that sort of thing, those are deals we don't typically do. We do a lot of construction, yellow iron, medical equipment, restaurant equipment, auto repair, medical equipment, car hauling, a lot of box trucks, garbage bins, that sort of thing, landscaping, agriculture. We're really not too picky. There's just a few of those things I mentioned earlier that we really don't finance. There are some fees involved. So there's that document fee depending on the ticket size, whether that's the $5,000 up to $150,000. There are site inspection fees. That is actually only for private party sales. That's one thing I forgot to mention as well. We will finance private party sales. So let's say you have a customer, challenge credit, great, cash flow, has a really successful business, just some credit hiccups, and he finds a piece of yellow iron on sale on Facebook Marketplace. We can actually finance that, which a lot of lenders aren't able to do. There is that site inspection fee. We have a third party that will come do the inspection as well as do the handoff for the title work and then the check. There's some other fees. These are all true leases with a 10% purchase option at the end. So we collect that security deposit up front. They're responsible for all payments of the lease. Then at the end of the lease, they're able to forfeit that security deposit and own the equipment. From what I know, we've really never had a customer say they want their security deposit and we can take the equipment, but that is an option. There are some state restrictions. So Alaska, Hawaii, Louisiana. I have been told recently that we will do some Louisiana if it's titled. But I mentioned long haul trucking and logging as 2 industries we don't work with. We don't credit score. There is not, I should clarify, we don't have a minimum credit score, but there are some things we want to check. Late child support is going to be a no-go for us. Tax liens above $25,000 and any current BKs. If they're in the past, they're discharged, that sort of thing, that shouldn't be an issue for us, but it's always the discrepancy of our underwriter. This is our small ticket program. That's going to be $5,000 up to $25,000. We typically like to see cash deposits of about 40% of that ticket price. So say it's 10 grand, we want to see 40 or $4,000 deposited monthly. That doesn't need to be their ending balance, but it will need to be what they're at least flowing. Since we are a cash flow lender, that's what we really look for to get these challenge credits approved. There's that $250 doc fee. Like I said, the fee ranges depending on the price of the equipment. We'll do new or used. That equipment just can't be older than 20 years. So we will finance some pretty old equipment. It really just can depend. We do the vendor, dealer, and the private party sales. Terms will go up to 36 months. In some cases, we can do 48 for you. I mentioned they're true leases with a 10% purchase option at the end. This is our kind of more medium range up to 50,000. And in reality, there really is just that large and small ticket size. But they all pretty much work the same, right? So the larger ticket sizes, we typically won't want to stretch out that payment option. We'll try to push for a shorter payment, schedule 18, 36 months, something like that, just so the customer is, having something that's more beneficial. We want to try to help them improve their credit, make payments, improve their PayNet score, and hopefully, be able to get some prime deals in the future. Here's up to the 100,000. We actually will finance up to 150,000, depending on the equipment. We do really like yellow iron. It really can just depend case by case basis on our underwriting. I mentioned the 20 years or newer. Let's see. For that larger ticket price, so that's going to be about 50,000 all the way to 150,000. We're going to see 80%. I would say is probably more accurate of those monthly deposits. So if it's $100,000, we want to see about 80,000 deposited. Their ending balance could be, $5,000, $30,000, but we want to see that cash flow. These are also true leases with a 10% purchase option. We do have a sale leaseback program. We don't do a ton of them, but it is an option. There's a 2-to-1 collateral funding ratio, only titled equipment with collateral. Here's some of the specifics on it. The vehicle does need to be 10 years or newer, except the box trucks. Those will need to be 5 years or newer. Terms are up to 48 months, and then same underwriting criteria that we use for pretty much all of our programs. Those will also be a true lease with a 10% purchase option. Let's see. We do have preferred pricing. So if the customer, let's see, has really strong borrowing credit, that's good. Doesn't have any red flags when we do our background checks, our credit pulls, that sort of thing. Monthly true business revenues must be at least 1 times the equipment cost with little NSFs, overdrafts, and negative daily bank balances, and no decreases in fluctuations in personal credit or business revenue. So, 1 month they made maybe half the amount they were making every other month. Might disqualify them. Like I said, it's up to the discrepancy of our underwriter. Typically, it's a pretty easy process. You'll submit a credit package to credit@360 Equipment Finance. We'll get you a response within 24 hours. We're usually pretty quick at getting them back to you. We like to see 3 months of most recent full business bank statements, as well as an invoice, and then the application. And then we'll get you that approval or decline and give you a reason why after. Let's say we get a customer approved. We'll have that phone interview with the customer just to kind of understand the business better. And once that interview's done, that's when it kind of hits my court. I'll take it from there. I'll reach out to you as a broker, let you know, hey, these are the items we need to get docs out. These are items that we might be able to wait on till, it's funding time. How can I help? Do you have them already? Do you have any questions of why we're asking for this, that sort of thing? And then we'll get docs out to you hopefully pretty quickly, depending on, the deal. There's always, certain case by case basis and what we ask for. Maybe there's an issue with some information provided, but we'll get you the documents. We use DocuSign, as well as really for any of our contract documents. So that's a little newer for us. If you prefer wet signatures with PDF, we can do that, but we typically prefer DocuSign. Then we get to funding. Once all properly executed documents and the security deposits are received by 360, we'll contact the customer to verbally review, do that funding verbal before we release funds. So pretty standard amongst the industry. It does vary between titled and non-titled equipment. Some of the requirements are a little stricter on those titles. Submission requirements. So try to give us as much information in the email as you can. Give us the name of the company in the subject line. Time in business is always really important. Although we can finance, and we do finance a lot of newer businesses, it just can't be a startup. So, we like to see at least something. It can't be a business in the making, if that makes any sense. We offer 5, 10, and 15 points on the deal. We'll always try to get you the most points possible. But let's say the customer is balking at the price, we'll reach back out with you and try to see where we can get this deal closed, whether that's 5 or 10 points, see what we need to do to get it done. Yeah, here's where I mentioned the credit application we'll need. We'll pull a credit report, as well as that background check. We'll need those 3 months of the most recent consecutive full business bank statements. And if you do have a Secretary of State filing or any proof of ownership in the business, it's super helpful to send in early. If you don't have it, that's fine. Once we get you approved, I'll be the one working with you to try to get this. To strengthen the deal, this is always very important. How much can the customer make as a down payment? The more they can put up front, the stronger we're going to feel about the deal. How old's the equipment? Are the customer willing to pledge additional collateral, right? Is the vehicle 10 years or newer? That's always, ideal for us. Those 3 months of full business bank statements, let's say they look really good. That's really important to us. Those are great ways to strengthen the deal. Excuse me. Let's see. I mentioned here about the deposits and the amount we like to see depending on the ticket price for those bank statements. Child support, mentioned that. Let's see, let's keep going through this. Apologies, I didn't get a chance to review this. I was really just kind of sitting in on it, so I hope you're enjoying my freestyle here. Yeah, how established is the business, right? Like I mentioned, we do a lot of newer businesses. That's not an issue, but it can't be a startup. We want to know, is that piece of equipment going to generate cash flow for the business? That's really important for us with these challenge credits. We want to make sure that if the customer is going to be paying their lease every month, we want to make sure that this piece of equipment is helping save them some money, make them some money in the process. A great customer for us, for example, to be on the lookout for, are people that rent equipment. Let's say they're renting a piece of yellow iron for $3,000 a month. We can probably get their lease a good bit lower. They can eventually build equity in it. Or I should say eventually they'll start building equity and eventually own it, as well as we report to PayNet. So we'll start improving their business credit so they can continuously get better deals. Newer businesses love coming to us to get that PayNet established. We'll have deals come in where they pay 50% down just because they, don't want to make a bunch of smaller payments. They could probably pay it in full. They're just going to pay half down, make the payment, so they have that payment history on their back for the future. Here are some of the document requirements. This is stuff that I'll be sending to you, lists, depending on if it's titled or non-titled. I won't go through it all because it is quite a bit. But it's very simple stuff. Invoices, that bill to ship to will depend if it's non-titled or titled. It'll either be to us or the customer. Lien holder. We'll need the vendor's wiring instructions or ACH information. Photos of the equipment, serial numbers, that sort of thing. That's always very important. Now, if that's something we're waiting on, it's holding the deal up, we can always get those post-funding. We'll just withhold broker commissions until then. We'll need that Schedule C, K1, Articles of Incorporation, that sort of thing. SOS, I mentioned that. Driver's license. We will finance permanent residents and green card holders. That's the general list of items we typically ask for to get these docs out and get things funded. But like I said, things are case by case basis depending on the deal. Sometimes there's collateral we need signed over, documents signed, that sort of thing. Yeah, right here, additional collateral. See, I know this without even having to look at it. Let's say the customer has 2 businesses. Sometimes you might ask for a cross-corp guarantee. That always helps us strengthen the deal. Those proposal conditions will always be on the term sheet, so the customer should know. It's really helpful to go through the term sheet with the customer when you're kind of selling it with them. I try as the account manager here to at least ask you, do you want a copy of the docs before they're sent via DocuSign as a PDF so you can go over them, kind of pre-sell the customer before, that DocuSign hits his email and he starts kind of looking at it himself. I let that be a case-by-case basis. I learned brokers pretty well and how they like to operate, methods of communication, that sort of thing. So I hope to get to know all y'all in the future. Invoices. If the dealer or vendor is processing title work for the customer, please have the title, fees, and taxes listed on the invoice. We do have a third-party titling company. If the vendor is not going to do the title work, customer is also able to do the title work, and that is important to get before documents are sent because that will change the finance amount, unless you are in Texas, California, Florida, Illinois, or New York, and purchasing non-titled equipment. Please leave the taxes off of that. If the customer is making a down payment to the seller for the equipment, this must be reflected on the invoice or bill of sale. We're getting near the end. I'm trying to kind of go through this with y'all. Hope I'm not boring y'all to sleep, but for non-titled transactions, 360 does need properly executed scanned documents. If that's PDF, DocuSign, like I said, we recently adopted DocuSign the past few months ago. We really like it. We definitely prefer it, but if brokers like working with wet signatures and PDFs, we want to make brokers happy. That security deposit will need to be in the form of certified funds, whether that's a wire or cashier's check. We are working on a program in 2024 to accept credit card information for smaller ticket prices under $25,000 at a 5% security deposit. I hope that gets y'all excited. We're excited about it, but it probably won't be active with us until 2024. So be out on the lookout for it. We'll probably be doing a lot of marketing around it. For title transactions, we'll need those executed documents. Signatures got to match the guarantors. Pretty basic stuff. Power of attorney docs. That's kind of can depend on the deal. That will always need to be notarized. That security deposit. Proof of insurance. That insurance can be a pain sometimes. We do have a third party that can force insurance for the customer, so this might be a little outdated, but case by case basis, sometimes the customer wants to do the insurance themselves. We will impose fees if insurance is not placed within 30 days, but we can do that on our side. So it's kind of case by case basis. Proof of the 360's liens on that additional collateral, that it will be important as well. Here's some of our rates and terms. So just kind of trying to give you a good view of it. Between the 5, 10, 15 points, you can kind of see how they pay out. We try to take care of our brokers. We want to get y'all as many 15-point deals as possible. So excited to work with you in the future. Here's the rates for our preferred customers. I mentioned that is kind of a case-by-case basis. Any customer that you bring to us that's a returning customer, let's say he comes back to you and wants another piece of equipment, you can bring him back to us, we'll get him preferred rate. Let's see. Can 360 do a sale leaseback on non-titled equipment? No, it needs to be titled, owned, free and clear, 10 years or newer. I mentioned that's age restriction. From the business requirements, we don't have them. I mentioned we're a revenue-based lender. Just startups is hard when there's revenue requirements that we need to see. So typically no startups, but new businesses, bread and butter for us. Title vehicles, trailers, owned free and clear, additional collateral. These can be business or personal vehicles, trailers. We do report to payment. I've mentioned that a few times. Let's see. I don't want to keep repeating myself. Let's just finish through this, and I can maybe open up for questions or just figure out how to do these next steps. Here's a good number to contact us. My extension is 110 if we're doing business in the future and you need help on a deal. But other than that, reach out to that number there, extension 104. That should be our office manager. I think that's all I got, Monica. I apologize for, Lynn stepping out and probably my inadequacies here, but I had fun doing it. So if y'all have questions, I can try to answer them as best as possible.
No, you're doing a great job. We do have one question. What are your time and business requirements? And just as a reminder, anybody has any questions, please type them in the Q&A box.
Is there a Q&A? Is it kind of in the chat? Oh, I see it right here. Gotcha. Okay. So we do not have official time and business requirements. I know that's not really a great answer. Let's say a year, if you want to ballpark it. It's really not that important to us. We don't have a specific amount of time we look for. We're just a cash-based lender. It's going to be case-by-case basis. Let's say it's a newer company. They've only been around 3 months. Cash flow is looking good. We can get them approved, but it's only been 3 months. Maybe the underwriter wants to cross-collateralize or insure it with the customer's other company, something like that. I'm not the underwriter, so I know that's not really a great answer. I'm not really sure the specifics. I just know we don't have specific time and business requirement.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. So obviously, everyone has contact information for you guys if you have questions later, but
Yep.
I don't see any. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Since I was the one that spoke to y'all, it's just going to be Young. That's YOUNG, like as in Neil Young at 360 Equipment Finance, or you can email credit at 360 Equipment Finance. And I'll make sure to look out for them. Just mention you're on this presentation, and I'll bump it up in my priority box.
I just want to say a big thanks to all our participants and especially our valued funding source member and gold sponsor, 360 Equipment Finance. Thanks for a great job. We invite everyone to meet with 360 Equipment Finance in person at the Commercial Financing Expo coming up this September in Orlando, Florida. And thanks again and have a great day.
Thanks again, y'all. I appreciate it. See y'all in the conference.
Thanks.